Rain lashed the windows of a Seattle skyscraper, a restless hum under the boardroom's fluorescent buzz. I, Emma Larson, sat poised my laptop, casting a glow as I let a pitch every number sharp in my mind. Then my phone rattled to Jacob's name and flashing like a storm warning, my husband. Heart thudding, I answered, expecting his usual warmth. Instead, his voice was ice smug a dagger. Emma, I'm done divorcing you. Sold our penthouse too. Claire and I are moving on. Find a new place. The call cut off. My world tilted. Divorce our home. Claire's name burned a suspicion, now real. Colleagues' voices faded their stares heavy, but I forced a tight smile, hands gripping the phone. He thought he'd won, thought he could shatter me with a smirk. But a fire sparked defiance rising. Jacob didn't know I'd locked the penthouse deed in my name months ago. His careless signature, my secret weapon. His betrayal was his blunder, and my chance. I stood mumbling an excuse and stepped toward the hallway, pulse racing, Seattle's rain urging me on. Jacob wanted a fight. I'd give him one he'd never forget. The hallway's dim glow felt like a fragile shelter as I slipped out of the boardroom. Seattle's rain hammering the windows like a heartbeat. Jacob's voice echoed sharp and cruel, divorce penthouse Claire. Each syllable a fresh wound tearing through me. My phone still clenched in my hand, burned with the weight of his betrayal, like it could explode any second. 6 years of marriage, of late nights, budgeting, dreaming, building that Belltown penthouse. Our home, every corner, filled with my love, and he'd sold it. For her, Claire, the shadow I'd sensed for months, lurking in his secretive texts, his last-minute trips to Portland, his charming deflections when I asked about the bank statements. I'd trusted him, believed his confidence meant we were solid. Now the truth slammed into me, a puzzle snapping together. He'd been unraveling us piece by piece while I clung to hope. The sheer arrogance. His smug laugh as he tossed me aside nearly broke me, nearly. My legs trembled, but I pressed a palm against the cold wall, anchoring myself. No, Jacob, you don't get to see me fall. Not now, not ever. A fire sparked in my chest, small but fierce, fueled by rage and something stronger, defiance. He thought he'd won, thought he could leave me homeless, a discarded chapter in his new life with her. But I wasn't that Emma anymore. I'd poured my soul into that penthouse, into US, and I'd be damned if I let him steal it. My mind raced, replaying the refinancing last year, how I'd quietly ensured the deed was mine alone. Jacob, too busy preening, hadn't even noticed. His carelessness was my weapon, and I'd use it. I wasn't just a betrayed wife, I was a fighter, and this was my battle. My eyes locked on my phone, Rachel's name glowing like a lifeline. My friend, my lawyer, the one who'd helped me turn Jacob's lies against him. He thought he could burn my world to ash. I'd rise stronger, sharper, unstoppable. My fingers hovered over the call button, the rain's relentless rhythm outside, urging me forward, a promise that this fight was mine to win. I took a deep breath, the hallway's quiet, wrapping around me, and prepared to strike back. The hotel room's quiet felt like a sanctuary, Seattle's skyline, sparkling beyond the window, a defiant glow against the rain-soaked night. I sat on the bed's edge, phone pressed to my ear, Rachel's voice cutting through the fog of Jacob's betrayal. My fingers still trembled from the hallway, where I'd vowed to fight his words, divorce penthouse Claire. Still searing my mind, he did what Rachel's outrage matched mine as I spilled it all. Jacob's smug call, his claim he'd sold our home, his flaunting of Claire like I was nothing. My voice held steady, but my heart raced each confession, sharpening my resolve. He thinks he's won, Rachel, that I'm out on the street. Rachel's laugh was fierce. A spark in the dark. Emma, he's delusional. That penthouse, it's yours, solely yours. My breath caught hope, flaring like a match. Last year I'd pushed to refinance quietly, transferring the deed to my name. Jacob, too arrogant to read the paperwork, had signed without a glance, his ego blinding him. So he can't sell it? I asked, leaning forward, the city's lights urging me on. Not a damn chance, Rachel said, her tone ironclad. Any deal he's made is void. If he's taken money, he's staring down fraud charges. Fraud. The word hit like a thunderclap, joy surging through me. Jacob's lies, his reckless confidence, had built his own trap. I could almost see his smirk, faltering, his world unraveling. What's our next step? I asked, voice firm, the fire from the hallway now ablaze. Rachel's words came fast, precise. We reach out to the buyer, some rich investor, probably tell them the sale's illegal. Then we draft a letter to Jacob, spelling out your ownership, his fraud, and the consequences. He'll back off or crash hard. I nodded, the skylines glow, feeling like a promise. Jacob thought he'd buried me, left me broken in Seattle's rain. But I held the deed, the truth, the power. Rachel's voice softened, steady. You're not alone, Emma. We'll crush this. Her words wrapped around me, armor against the storm. This wasn't just about saving my penthouse. It was about proving I was unbreakable. I stood pacing to the window, the city's pulse syncing with mine. Jacob had underestimated me, but I was ready to strike. My fingers tightened around the phone. Rachel's plan, my first weapon, the fight just beginning. Seattle's rain glistened on the tarmac as I pulled my suitcase through the Seattle-Tacoma airport. The terminal's hum, a faint echo of the fire, now burning in my chest. Rachel's words from the hotel room rang clear, my deed void, sale fraud. Each one a brick in the wall of my resolve. Jacob's betrayal looped in my mind, his cold divorce, his taunting Claire, his smug laugh as he tried to erase me. 6 years of marriage, of pouring my soul into that Belltown penthouse. Our home, every choice, from the hardwood floors to the skyline view mine. And he thought he could steal it. I'd missed the signs, his vague answers about our finances, his charming sidesteps when I pressed his way of making me feel small for asking. I'd trusted his swagger, thought it meant we were a team. Now I saw him for what he was, a liar, cloaked in arrogance, betting I'd fold. My grip tightened on the suitcase handle, knuckles pale. No, Jacob, I'm done being your fool. Rachel's plan, contact the buyer, hit him with a letter, was my roadmap. But this was bigger than paperwork. This was about me, the woman he'd underestimated. The airport's bustle faded as I stepped outside, rain kissing my face. Seattle's pulse syncing with my own. I wasn't just fighting for a penthouse. I was fighting for my life, my strength, my future. Jacob thought he'd left me broken, thought his call had won. But he didn't know the Emma I'd become forged in the quiet moments he'd ignored. The cab's door shut with a thud, the driver's radio humming softly. Belltown, I said, voice, steady eyes, fixed on the city's glow ahead. The penthouse waited, its windows dark, but unyielding, a symbol of everything I'd built, everything I'd reclaim. My phone stayed silent, no groveling texts from Jacob, no apologies. Good. Let him bask in his delusion. The cab wove through Seattle's streets, rain streaking the windows, like tears I refused to shed. Jacob thought he'd outplayed me, thought I'd crumble under his betrayal. He was wrong. I leaned back, the city's rhythm fueling me, my resolve, as solid as the space needle piercing the storm. This was my home, my fight, and I was coming for him. The cab dropped me in Belltown, Seattle's rain, a steady pulse against my umbrella, as I stepped into Pike Place Market's morning chaos. The scent of fresh coffee and warm pastries swirled around me, grounding me after the airport's whirlwind. My resolve forged in. That taxi burned hotter now. Jacob's betrayal, his smug divorce, his flaunting of Claire, his lie about selling my penthouse, all fuel for the fire in my chest. I wasn't the Emma who'd trusted his charm, who'd ignored his evasions. I was a warrior, and today I'd sharpen my weapons. Inside a cozy cafe, I found Rachel Nguyen, my lawyer, my friend, her legal pad, already open eyes sharp like a general's. The clink of cups and hum of voices faded as I sat the city's rhythm urging me forward. "Tell me everything," Rachel said, pen poised, her voice a steady anchor. I unloaded it all. Jacob's cold call, his claim he'd sold our home, his casual toss of Claire's name like I was a stranger. My hands steadied on the table, but my pulse thrummed, each word carving my anger into purpose. "He thinks I'm done, Rachel, that he's won." Rachel's eyes narrowed, a fierce smile breaking through. "He's in for a hell of a surprise, Emma. That penthouse, it's yours. Legally, no question. His sale, it's a fraud, plain and simple." My heart leapt, Rachel's words echoing the hope I'd clung to since the hotel. The refinancing, my quiet move to secure the deed. Jacob's lazy signature had handed me the keys to his downfall. "He can't touch it?" I asked, leaning in the cafe's warmth wrapping around me. "Not a chance," Rachel said, her tone like steel. "No deed, no deal. If he's taken a dime from a buyer, he's committed fraud, and that's a legal nightmare. Fraud." The word was a spark, igniting a blaze of satisfaction. Jacob's arrogance, his blind belief he could outsmart me, was his trap. I pictured his smug face crumbling when he realized I held all the cards. "What's the plan?" I asked, voice firm, ready to move. Rachel flipped a page, her words crisp, deliberate. "We start by contacting the buyer, probably some hotshot investor chasing a Belltown deal. We inform them the sale's void, illegal, dead in the water. They'll be pissed, but that's Jacob's mess. Then we draft a letter to him, laying it out, your sole ownership, his fraud, the consequences, court charges, the works. He'll either back off or dig his own grave." I nodded, seeing it unfold. Jacob's confidence shattering under the weight of truth. Power surged through me, like I'd gripped a sword meant for battle. Rachel reached across, her hand firm on mine. "You're not alone, Emma. We'll tear this down together." Her words were a vow, binding us in this fight. This wasn't just about saving my penthouse. It was about reclaiming my strength, my life. Everything Jacob tried to steal. The rain outside quickened Seattle's energy pulsing through me. I stood ready to face the storm, my next move clear. Jacob thought he'd broken me. He was about to learn I was unstoppable. The cafe's warmth lingered in my bones as I stepped into the Belltown penthouse, Seattle's evening rain. A soft veil beyond the towering windows. The plan Rachel and I had forged at Pike Place, contact the buyer draft, the letter expose Jacob's fraud, burned like a torch guiding me. This was my home, every sleek line, every chosen detail, a piece of my heart. And Jacob thought he could steal it. The lock clicked and my pulse spiked. Jacob swaggered in his tailored coat, dripping Claire Dawson, clinging to his arm, her influencer-perfect smile, gleaming with smugness. "Gorgeous place," she purred, scanning the minimalist furniture, the skyline view. "Our new home, right, Jacob?" He smirked, eyes skimming past me like I was invisible. "You know it, babe." My blood roared, a tidal wave of rage, our home. This man parading his mistress in the space I'd built thought he could erase me with a grin. I stepped forward, the deed in my hand, like a loaded gun, voice calm but razor sharp. Not so fast, Claire. This penthouse is mine. Jacob didn't tell you he can't sell it. Claire's smile cracked, her eyes snapping to him, nails digging into her designer purse. What's she talking about, Jacob? Her voice was sharp, accusing. Jacob's face flushed, his cool unraveling like cheap thread. It's a misunderstanding, he stammered, hands waving. I'll sort it out. I laughed cold, cutting the sound, echoing off the hardwood. It's crystal clear, Jacob. You tried to sell what's not yours. The deed's been mine since we refinanced. You signed it away, too busy strutting to read the fine print. I held up the deed, its pages a silent verdict, undeniable. Claire's jaw dropped, her poise crumbling like a sandcastle. You said this was yours, she shrieked, stepping back, heels clicking frantically. Jacob floundered, his voice rising. Claire, baby, I can fix this, I swear. But I wasn't done. I advanced my words, steady, lethal. The sale's void. Jacob, the buyer's been told. And if you've touched a single dollar of their money, you're facing fraud. How's that for your new life? Claire's face drained, her smugness gone, replaced by raw panic. Fraud, she gasped, clutching her purse like a lifeline. You lied to me, Jacob, about everything. Her voice broke a mix of fury and betrayal. He turned, hands raised, desperate. Claire, wait, let me explain. But she was done. Explain this, you're a joke, she spat, storming to the door, her exit punctuated by a slam that rattled the windows. Silence crashed in heavy electric. Jacob faced me, eyes blazing, but his bravado was a ghost. You think you're so smart, Emma, huh? This isn't over. His voice shook, a hollow threat. I crossed my arms, unflinching, the penthouse's glow behind me like armor. It's over, Jacob. Rachel's letter is on its way. One wrong move and you're in court, drowning in fraud charges. Choose wisely. He froze, jaw clenched, then snatched his coat, muttering curses as he headed for the door. This is my home too, he barked, but it was weak, a dying echo. I pointed to the exit, voice steady. Not anymore. Get out. He hesitated, then left the door, clicking shut, leaving the penthouse mine again. My heart pounded, a mix of triumph and adrenaline. The rain outside quickened Seattle's lights, steady through the glass. I'd won this round, but Jacob wasn't done. I could feel it, his desperation simmering. I walked to the window, the city's pulse sinking with mine, my grip on the deed unyielding. The fight was far from over, and I was ready for whatever came next. The penthouse's silence was deafening, the echo of Jacob's slammed door still ringing, as Seattle's rain lashed the windows, a restless curtain over the city's glow. I stood in the living room, the deed, my deed, gripped tightly. Its weight grounding me after the clash, Jacob's final threat, this isn't over. Emma had been weak, his face pale as Claire stormed out, her screams of fraud exposing his lies. I'd faced him down, my voice steady, wielding Rachel's letter like a blade, sole ownership, void sale, legal consequences. Courts waiting, Jacob. I'd said, watching him crumble before he fled. The victory surged through me, a wildfire of triumph, but my pulse stayed quick, sensing the fight wasn't done. My phone buzzed, shattering the quiet. Linda Bennett, Jacob's mother. My stomach twisted, but I answered, bracing for the blow. Emma, darling. Linda's voice oozed false sweetness. You're tearing Jacob apart. He's lost, made a terrible mistake with that girl. Can't you forgive him for family? My jaw clenched, a family. The man who'd sold my penthouse laughed about leaving me homeless. Now cowered behind his mother's pleas, the audacity stung, but I saw her game guilt meant to drag me back. Linda, I said, voice low, unyielding. Jacob's mistake was betraying me, lying to everyone, trying to steal my home. there's no forgiveness for that." Her tone sharpened a mother's desperation. "Breaking through. He's my son, Emma. He's struggling. You're being heartless." The word cut a fleeting jab, but I stood firm, the penthouse's glow, my armor. "He chose this, Linda." I said each word deliberate. "He lied, schemed, and lost. He'll face the consequences, alone." I hung up, heart pounding, but my resolve was iron. Linda's call was a test, one I'd passed with fire. Jacob's family couldn't sway me, couldn't dim the truth. This penthouse, this life, was mine to defend. The rain's rhythm quickened Seattle's skyline, a steady beacon through the glass. My phone lit up again, a text from Rachel Buyer notified, "Sales dead, Jacob's in deep." A smile broke through, sharp, defiant. The investor, some Seattle bigwig, must be furious, but that was Jacob's mess, not mine. I pictured him scrambling, his smugness in ashes, and the thought fueled me. This round was mine, but Jacob's desperation would push him to strike back. I could feel it, a storm brewing. I walked to the window, the city's pulse syncing with my own, the deed still in my hand, a talisman of my strength. Rachel's letter was coming, a legal hammer to crush Jacob's lies. But Linda's call reminded me this fight was personal too. Every step, every choice was about proving I was unbreakable. The penthouse stood quiet, its sleek lines a testament to my resolve, but the air felt charged like the calm before a lightning strike. Jacob thought he could bully me, thought his mother's guilt could weaken me. He was wrong. I turned from the window, my steps firm on the hardwood, ready for whatever he'd throw next. Seattle's rain kept falling, a steady promise that I'd weather this storm and come out stronger. The penthouse's quiet felt alive. Seattle's rain, a steady heartbeat against the windows as I stood by the glass. Rachel's text, "Buyer notified, sales dead," still glowing on my phone. Jacob's defeat, his mother Linda's failed guilt trip, fueled a fierce satisfaction, but the city's restless pulse kept me alert. I'd faced Jacob down St. Clair running and brushed off his family's pleas. Yet a nagging sense told me the storm wasn't over. My phone buzzed again, an unknown number. I answered, cautious. "Emma Larson," a man's voice barked, sharp, commanding. "This is Derek Walsh, real estate investor. Your husband's little penthouse deal. It's cost me time and money. I'm suing you both." My heart lurched. Sue me, the nerve. Jacob's fraud had ripple effects, and now this stranger thought I was collateral damage. I gripped the phone, voice steady despite the jolt. "Mr. Walsh, I'm the victim here." Jacob tried to sell my penthouse, which I alone own. The sale's void. Sue him, not me. Walsh's tone didn't soften. "I don't care about your drama. I want my deposit back, or you're both in court." He hung up, leaving a chill. I stood, frozen, Seattle's skyline blurring through the rain. Jacob's mess was spreading, threatening to drag me down. But I wasn't alone. I called Rachel, her voice a lifeline in her downtown office, the click of her keyboard grounding me. "Walsh contacted you," she said, unfazed. "He's a big fish, but he's got no case against you, Emma. The deed's yours, the sale's illegal. Jacob's the one who took his money." My breath steadied, Rachel's confidence a shield. "He's threatening to sue us both," I said, pacing. "Can he?" Rachel's laugh was sharp. "Let him try." "We've got the paperwork, the truth. I'll send Walsh a letter, prove you're clean. He'll turn on Jacob, not you." Relief washed over me, but a new fire kindled. This wasn't just about dodging Walsh's threat. It was about ending Jacob's chaos for good. A knock at the door startled me. Sophie Miller, my colleague, stood there, her warm smile a contrast to the storm outside. "Heard you're fighting a war," she said, stepping in her eyes, kind but knowing. "I've been there, Emma. My ex pulled similar stunts. You're not just saving your home, you're saving yourself. Her words hit deep, echoing my resolve. Sophie sat with me, sharing her story of breaking free, her voice steady, inspiring. You're stronger than you know, she said, squeezing my hand. Don't stop now. I nodded, the penthouse's glow wrapping around us, Seattle's rain a quiet ally. Sophie's support, Rachel's plan. Walsh's threat was just another hurdle, and I'd clear it. Jacob thought he could ruin me, but every challenge made me sharper, fiercer. I walked Sophie out the city's light, steady through the glass, my resolve unyielding. Rachel would handle Walsh, and I'd face Jacob again, armed with truth. The penthouse stood firm, mine a symbol of my fight. I turned back to the window, rain tracing paths down the glass Seattle's pulse, urging me forward. Jacob's lies were crumbling, and I was ready to finish this. Morning light streamed through the penthouse windows, Seattle's skyline, bathed in a golden haze as the rain finally eased. I stood in the living room. Sophie's words from last night, "You're saving yourself," still echoing, blending with Rachel's assurance that Derek Walsh's threats were empty. Jacob's chaos, his fraud, his betrayal, had pushed me to the edge, but I'd fought back, armed with the deed, Rachel's legal hammer, and Sophie's belief in me. The penthouse, my home, stood firm, a testament to my resolve. The doorbell chimed sharp, pulling me from my thoughts. Jacob. He slouched in the doorway, his tailored coat rumpled, eyes hollow. No trace of the swagger that once defined him. "I'm here to sign," he muttered, avoiding my gaze. A folder of divorce papers in his hand. My heart thudded not with fear, but with quiet triumph. He'd fought, threatened, schemed, divorce Penthouse Claire. But Rachel's letter, Walsh's fury, and my unyielding truth had cornered him. "Come in," I said, voice steady, gesturing to the dining table. He sat, flipping open the folder, his pen hesitating over the signature line. "You really hate me, don't you?" he said, voice low, almost pleading. "Hate?" I almost laughed. "No, Jacob," I said, crossing my arms. "The morning light, my ally. I pity you. You had everything, a home, a partner, a life, and you threw it away for lies." His jaw tightened, but he signed each stroke a surrender. The papers were done. He stood grabbing a duffel bag by the door, his last belongings. "I'll be gone by tonight," he said, voice flat, and shuffled out the door, clicking shut with finality. I exhaled, a weight lifting like a storm cloud parting. The penthouse felt lighter, mine in a way it hadn't before. My phone buzzed. Rachel. "It's official," she said, her voice bright. "Walsh backed off, no lawsuit. He's after Jacob, not you. The penthouse is yours." Emma, free and clear. Relief flooded me, warm like the sunlight spilling across the hardwood. Jacob's fraud had collapsed, his buyer gone, his leverage zero. I walked to the window, Seattle's morning glow wrapping around me, the Space Needle piercing the sky like my resolve. This wasn't just a legal win, it was a rebirth. The penthouse, every sleek line, every view, was a canvas of my strength, no longer tainted by Jacob's lies. I ran my hand along the counter, picturing new decor, new memories, a space that screamed Emma. My phone pinged again, a text from Sophie, "Proud of you. Drink soon." I smiled, the city's pulse syncing with mine. Jacob was gone. His shadow fading, but the fight had changed me. I wasn't just saving my home, I was claiming my future. The morning light grew brighter, Seattle waking around me, and I felt it, a spark of something new, bold, unstoppable. I turned from the window steps, light on the hardwood, ready to make this space my own, every inch. A reflection of the woman I'd become. The penthouse was mine, but more than that, I was free, and the world was waiting. The Penthouse basked in Seattle's afternoon light, its windows framing a city, now free of storm clouds, just as my heart felt free of Jacob's shadow. His signed divorce papers, his final exit yesterday morning, had closed a chapter, leaving the space mine truly mine. Rachel's call confirming Derek Walsh's retreat, and the Penthouse's security still echoed, blending with Sophie's encouragement, "You're saving yourself." I stood in the living room, the hardwood warm under my feet, and felt it a shift, like the air itself was lighter, unburdened by Jacob's lies. This wasn't just a home, it was a mirror of the woman I was becoming. I walked to the shelf, pulling down a framed photo from our early years, Jacob and me, smiling arms tangled full of naive hope. My thumb traced the glass, a pang of what-if surfacing, but only for a moment. Those days were gone, drowned in his betrayal, divorce, Claire, fraud. I carried the frame to the fireplace, struck a match, and watched the flames consume it, the smoke curling like a farewell to my old self. No more clinging to ghosts. I was done living in his shadow. The Penthouse deserved better, and so did I. I grabbed a notebook, sketching ideas, new paint-bold art, a cozy reading nook by the window. This space would scream Emma every choice, a defiance of Jacob's chaos. My phone buzzed a work email, an invite to a leadership program at my company. I signed up without hesitation, a thrill sparking. Why stop at the Penthouse? I'd redefine myself too. I opened my laptop, starting a blog, Financial Freedom, by Emma Larson, pouring my expertise into words, a way to help others while claiming my voice. Each keystroke felt like a brick in a new foundation, one Jacob couldn't touch. Sophie's visit last night had lit something else. Her story of breaking free, her quiet strength, reminded me I wasn't alone. I texted her, "Drinks this weekend." Her reply was instant, "Hell yes, warrior." I laughed, the sound bouncing off the walls, filling the space with life. Rachel, Sophie, this city. They were my anchors, proof I could rebuild stronger. I moved to the kitchen, unpacking new mugs. Their bright colors, a rebellion against Jacob's sterile taste. The Penthouse was transforming just as I was. Seattle's light poured in. The Space Needle, a distant sentinel, urging me forward. I wasn't just surviving, I was thriving, each choice, a step toward a future I'd shape. Jacob's betrayal had been a wake-up call, shattering the Emma who'd settled for less. Now I saw my worth, my power, my fire. I walked to the window, the city's pulse syncing with mine, my reflection sharp in the glass. This Penthouse, this life, was mine to redefine, but it was more than walls and views. It was a symbol of me, unbroken, unstoppable. I turned back, eyeing the half-sketched plans, the laptop glowing with my blog. The day stretched ahead, full of possibility, and I felt it, a hunger for more, for connection, for joy. Seattle's light grew warmer, wrapping me in promise, ready for the celebration to come. The Penthouse's balcony glowed under Seattle's evening sky, the city's lights twinkling like stars as I leaned against the railing, the warmth of my new mug still lingering from the afternoon's redecorating. The space, my space, had begun to reflect me, bold and unapologetic, just as I'd started to see myself. Jacob's shadow, his divorce, his fraud, his Claire was gone, burned away like that old photo, replaced by my blog's growing followers, my leadership course, my reclaimed life. The doorbell chimed, pulling me inside, where Rachel Nguyen and Sophie Miller stood, arms full of takeout and wine, their laughter a melody in the air. To the warrior, Sophie declared, raising a glass, her eyes sparkling with pride. Rachel grinned, clinking her glass against mine. To Emma, who took down a fraud and won her castle, I laughed, the sound free, filling the penthouse with joy. The hardwood gleamed under new lamps, the walls ready for art. I'd chosen every inch a defiance of Jacob's chaos. We sprawled on the couch, Seattle's skyline framing us through the windows, and I felt it, home, not just a place, but a feeling built on my strength. "You're glowing," Rachel said, her voice soft knowing. I smiled, sipping my wine, the city's pulse syncing with mine. "It's not just the penthouse," I said, voice steady. "It's me. For the first time, I'm living for myself, not someone else's rules." Sophie nodded, her own past battles reflected in her eyes. "You didn't just win a fight, Emma. You found yourself." Her words hit deep, a truth I'd earned through every tear, every stand. Jacob's betrayal, his smug call, his lies, had been a crucible, forging me into someone new, someone unbreakable. We talked late, sharing dreams, plans, laughter, the penthouse alive with possibility. I glanced at the balcony, picturing future nights here, maybe new faces, new stories, but always on my terms. One day I said, voice soft, I might find a new place somewhere fresh, no echoes of him. Rachel raised an eyebrow, teasing, "But you'll keep kicking ass, right?" I grinned, fierce, always. The Space Needle gleamed in the distance, a beacon of resilience like me. Jacob thought he'd shattered me, thought his laugh would be the end. He was wrong. Every step facing him, Claire Walsh Linda, had built this moment, this life. The penthouse was mine, but more than that. I was mine, a woman who'd fought and won. Sophie refilled our glasses, her voice bright. To new chapters we toasted, the clink, ringing clear, Seattle's lights, dancing beyond the glass. I stood stepping back to the balcony, the cool air kissing my skin. The city stretched wide, a canvas of possibility, and I felt it, a hunger, a promise, a future I'd shape. Jacob's arrogance had been his downfall, but my quiet strength, my fire, was my salvation. I looked out the skyline, shimmering my heart, full ready for whatever came next, knowing I'd face it as me, whole, fearless, free. As I stood on the penthouse balcony, Seattle's skyline sparkling below, the laughter of Rachel and Sophie still warming the air, I realized this journey, beating Jacob's fraud, reclaiming my home. Finding myself was more than a personal victory. It was a roadmap for anyone facing their own storms. First, prepare, like your life depends on it. My quiet move to secure the penthouse deed, a detail Jacob ignored, saved me. Know your rights, your finances, your power, because no one else will hand them to you. Life's battles hit hard, but preparation is your shield. Second, lean on your people. Rachel's legal savvy. Sophie's heart, their belief in me, they were my anchors when Jacob's lies, divorce. Claire tried to sink me. Build a circle that lifts you, friends who fight beside you, because no one wins alone. Third, trust your worth. Jacob's betrayal made me doubt myself, but standing up facing him, Claire, even Walsh's threats, showed me I'm enough. You are too. Don't let anyone dim your fire. Claim your space, your voice, your future. I learned this the hard way, watching Seattle's lights flicker like my own resolve. Jacob thought he'd break me, but every choice to fight, to rebuild, to dream, proved him wrong. You can do the same. Life will test you, throw liars' losses, doubts your way, but you're stronger than you know. I see it now in the penthouse's glow, in the city's pulse, in me. So stand tall, prepare fiercely, so hold your people close and never doubt your power. Your horizon's waiting, ready for you to claim it, just like I did.